Well, a tour of the White House was supposed to be the perfect surprise for that little boy's 8th birthday, but it's not going to happen because you might have heard White House is canceling tours due to those across the board budget cuts. Now, as the doors of the People's House closed as of today, guys, March 9th, a new poll shows President Obama may be feeling the political pain of those spending cuts that kicked in last week. According to Quinnipiac University, the president's approval rating is down 8 points, falling from a post-election high of 53% in December. So are the automatic spending cuts the main reason for this? Bringing in our political panel now. Matt Schlapp, he's a former White House political director under President George W. Bush, and Bernard Whitman. He is the Democratic pollster and author of 52 Reasons to Vote for Obama. Good to see both of you.
Thanks for having us.
Great to be here, Rafael.
I'm going to start with you, Bernard, because it might still be too early to tell, but let's just go here for a second. Did the president oversell the sequester and how it's supposed to affect Americans' wallets and the overall economy?
No, I don't think so. I think he was being straight with the American people. And frankly, you know, it is very typical for second-term presidents to see a fall in their approval numbers from the post-election, post-inauguration heady days. And once you get to March and you start to the slog of governing, a lot of times approval goes down. That happened to Reagan, that happened to Clinton, that happened to George W. Bush. But the Gallup daily tracking polls actually showed that it's starting to come back, and I think there's reason that his approval numbers are going to come back, because you saw this week, in addition to the unfortunate sequester happening and those kids not being able to go to the White House, which is unfortunate, but the Dow hit record highs. Unemployment is its lowest in 4.5 years. Net worth for American households is recovered almost everything it lost during the Great Recession. So we are on the right path. We just need to continue with the balanced mix.
Can you hear me? Okay, great points to make, Bernard, but I just want to ask you, because, you know, listen, even people in the president's own camp, they're saying that maybe it may have oversold some of the effect of these across-the-board budget cuts. So it is a PR blunder for the president. How does he recover from this?
Well, I don't think it's a PR blunder for the president at all. I mean, I think that what he does is he continues to try to generate support for the American people to push their congressmen and women to agree to a balanced mix of spending cuts and tax increases so we can solve the deficit problem. And I think that you saw coming out of that meeting at the White House, he basically said, look, I want to get this deal done by midsummer so we don't have another problem over the debt ceiling. And I ultimately think that's going to happen. Americans can see that we are on the right path. And with the job numbers continuing to increase, housing prices increasing, the stock market increasing, making Americans a bit more confident, I think that we're going to continue on the path forward.
All right. I wanted to give you a chance to finish that, but, you know, kind of shorten those talking points list for me, because I got to go here, because don't sit there smiling too much, Matt, because here comes the Republican side. Here we go. The Quinnipiac poll, approval rating for Republicans in Congress. Let's take a look at that. Yeah, okay, so in December, the approval rating was 23%, and in February, it's 20%. The disapproval rating currently in February, this taken last week, is 71%. Disapproval rating of the Republicans in Congress. Let me take a look at the Democrats, and I'll get to my question, Matt.
Sure.
Okay, here's the Democrats. Disapproval rating, 60%. So basically, people are just pretty much over everybody in Congress. But getting back to you, Matt, in this situation with the across-the-board budget cuts and how perhaps the overselling of the sequester maybe could be harm the president momentarily, possibly. So let me ask you, is it possible for this, is this an opportunity for the Republicans to win favor with Americans, to perhaps get the pendulum swinging their way a bit more?
Well, in all candor, this is, you know, political peril for both parties. I mean, if Republicans make it sound like those are hurting in our economy aren't affected by government, that's a mistake. But by the same token, clearly, I know we're going to have a new pope here in a few days or weeks, but I feel like we have a new president. He's clearly got a white flag. He's meeting with Republicans he wouldn't even talk to. You know, it's like he's got a whole different approach, because he realizes that the idea that the American people were going to immediately say that allowing the sequester to happen was a mistake did not happen. His desire to kind of push through this closing of the White House tours was a huge blunder. I think they'll be changing that pretty quickly as well. I've not seen, the president has made many smart political decisions over the course of the last 4 years, and Republicans have watched and not liked how good he has been on politics. But I tell you, over the course of the last 2 weeks, he hadn't been so good.
All right, Matt, so you're saying you think we have a new president? The president said that he was
I think we have a new approach. It's a new approach. You have to admit it. I mean, when's the last time we sat down?
Okay, but isn't that good? You were complaining before that he didn't reach out across the aisle, so now he is. He's having dinner, he's having lunch, he's going to have a barbecue for everybody.
It's wonderful, and I think, well, let's hope that's what's coming next. The weather's going to turn here. But here's what's going to happen is that the president realizes he has to shift his focus and change his strategy when it comes to the budget, because if sequester is the beginning of what's going to happen when it comes to the CR and these other questions, his old strategy just ain't going to work.
Well, Matt, with all due respect, I don't think it's the president need to change his strategy, though I do applaud that he has been inviting Republicans to dine with him, and the Republicans have returned the favor. But 76% of the American people have said time and again that they want a mix of spending cuts and tax increases, and so the Republicans need to get with the program.
And you just got the largest tax increase in history. You just got it.
A tax increase on those making over $400,000 is not going to be sufficient to bring the deficit under control, even if we have real spending cuts and entitlements.
Every American got a tax increase.
Hang on one second, Matt. This is for you.
This is important.
Let me ask. No, it is important. I'm going to stay on this topic, and I want to ask you though. What about those of the idea that the president is proposing to close the tax loopholes for the wealthy and well-connected? Is this going to happen, or will the GOP double down and refuse to do that?
Look, I think that the GOP has just had to go along due to the fact that these Bush tax cuts expired with the largest tax increase in history. And let's correct the record. This was on every single person in America who works. They had their payroll taxes increased. It wasn't just wealthy people. And the fact is the economy is starting to improve. If we accept a second tier of the largest tax increase or the second largest tax increase in history, the economy is going to further weaken.
Right.
It would be a huge mistake, and Republicans aren't going to go along with it.
And Bernard, I have to go, but I give you 20 seconds because the economists say with the economy improving, now is not the time to cut spending.
Well, look, we're going to have some spending cuts, but the spending cuts in the way that the sequester has them happen across the board, randomly, not targeted, not allowing us to invest in education and first responders and so forth, is improper. But I got to say, Matt's talking about a tax increase. You're talking about Obamacare. That's over and done with. The payroll tax increase.
It's a payroll tax increase.
That was a repeal of a payroll tax holiday. That was a bipartisan effort.
I just got in my ear that I have to cut this short. So I appreciate the spirited debate. I wanted to keep going, but I can't. Matt Schlapp, Bernard Whitman, thank you very much to both of you for expressing your perspectives.
Thank you, Arthel.
Thank you.
Spirited,
yeah,
contentious, interesting. Thanks.